Hi, this is John Smith, and welcome to another episode of Punk Rock Politics. It's been a while, and it probably won't be quite that long ever again, barring any extenuating circumstances. I had a lot going on. Yesterday was Earth Day. Happy belated Earth Day. Yesterday was also my birthday. I was born on Earth Day, April 22nd. The year I was born was also Easter, but, so I have a holiday we should celebrate that I was born on, and one maybe we shouldn't. Well, anywho, a little dark in here, but you know what? Whatever, that's fine. I have a bunch of stories to catch up on. I've been very busy. I've had a lot going on, and unfortunately, until I start making some income, I can't be as consistent as I'd like with this channel. I appreciate all the support I'm getting, and I'm going to keep putting out content, and I'm going to try to stay as steady as I can while I try to do all the other things I need to do to survive in life that I don't want to do. I'm sure many of you can relate. So anyway, ton of news that I have been researching, and just one of the reasons I haven't posted in a while is because I didn't know how to react to Bernie Sanders dropping out and a lot of the stuff he's done and said since that I do not support at all. Anywho, and there's going to be a video or two at least on that coming very soon. That I can promise you. I've been working on it and thinking about it, watching tons of different people talk about it and analyze it, and doing research and all that good stuff. So that's coming soon. But right now we're going to get into... you know what? Real quick, I wanted to say, I know it's not technically Earth Day or my birthday, but if you could please go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics and become a patron, that would be super appreciated. As somebody who doesn't have money, I totally understand if you can't afford to, but if you can, and if you can afford $1, like you're going to waste it or just whatever, spend it on something that you don't want or need, then the lowest membership to be a patron is just $1. You get extra content, early access, sometimes exclusive content that only patron members get, like videos that I'll do just for Patreon, all that kind of stuff. It's just, I haven't been posting a ton to Patreon because it's been a while and I haven't gotten a single patron. So it would be a great birthday gift to me, and I believe it would be a great gift for the earth because I'm going to try to cover a lot more environmental stories in the coming week, to do like a week for Earth Day kind of thing. On top of all the other important stories and the campaigns and, the campaign, especially the presidential campaign, but other campaigns and just so much news with coronavirus. And I'm going to keep you abreast of all that, but I'm going to try to focus more on the environment this week and generally. So after that as well, because it's super important and not enough people are talking about how climate change and the climate crisis affects these pandemics and makes them worse, how the changes in weather and the gusts of wind can spread a disease, but mainly how as we melt the planet and the permafrost melts and the polar ice caps melts, diseases will come out of the ground that could be hundreds of millions or a million or whatever. The point is we don't know how to deal with them, and they get spread worse and faster than this. And before we cure them, they could wipe out the whole human race. They could wipe out, if it spreads to every animal and stuff, it could wipe out all life on Earth except plants and maybe even them. Who knows? Not that probably won't kill all life on Earth, but it'll probably kill all humans. You can bet that. So don't get confused. Don't believe that these politicians can't do more than one thing at once. States should be issuing Green New Deals of their own that mimic Bernie Sanders and other progressives' correct policy. They should be pushing hard so that this never happens again, meaning Medicare for all. So we all have health insurance, and if anything ever happens again, people are as healthy as they can be, and insurance companies and drug companies don't profit off of our healthcare. It's absurd. We're the richest country in the world, and we're the only industrialized nation that doesn't have healthcare for their people. It's just absurd. I mean, what? And these people, the response from so many different people in power is so absurd. But you had to know how bad those people were. Like, in some ways, like Governor Murphy of New Jersey, or Andrew Cuomo of New York, or Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker the House of Representatives, the federal House of Representatives, Speaker of the House, the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. These people are garbage people. They're terrible. Trump, I mean, he's responsible for these deaths and the spread of this virus, saying it was a hoax, it's no big deal. Now he's, desperately trying to win re-election when historically, if you are a president in the United States, at least, if not many leaders in the world, and your economy is doing bad, you're screwed. So he was running on this disingenuous idea that he has helped the economy and that he's made it so strong because there's a low unemployment level, while ignoring the fact that there's massive income inequality. So in other words, just because somebody's working 3 or 4 jobs doesn't mean your economy's good. If they can't afford basic goods and a home and healthy food and, the things their kids and children need or family needs or friends, it's just whatever. It is what it is. But unfortunately, during this crisis, we're getting a lot, like people are getting, hey, stick with me there. Sorry about that. People are approving of very unsavory people and thinking they're great, like Andrew Cuomo. This happens during times of crises. Chris Christie got a big boom from Hurricane Sandy, and like his poll numbers shot up to like 67 or 70%. He was like the most unpopular governor maybe in New Jersey history, or one of the worst in the country ever. Like just horrible. And then all of a sudden people were the Republican Party was such a joke that they thought it was a big deal and very presidential or very leader-like to have shaken Obama's hand during a national, climate emergency epic storm, whatever you want to call it. And he gained points for that. Well, the other day I was looking. They have or I was reading this article that I'm about to go through about Andrew Cuomo, and he had, 87% approval rate for the coronavirus crisis. It's the largest outbreak in the country. They botched it. They told teachers and students to go to school while people were testing positive for COVID-19 in the school, like teachers and shit. I mean, and then they had to organize on their own and fight for weeks, both the unions and the teachers and the students. Like they had to call out sick and protest, including students had to organize just because de Blasio and Cuomo didn't want to close the schools. De Blasio claims that who's going to watch the nurses and whatever, the frontline people's kids, and it's like, well, the government could find a way to do it. Like you have control and own big buildings, right? Have a socially distanced daycare with a bunch of people with the proper PPE, the protective gear. Get air filters. Have one person per kid. Make sure they're safe, so they want to do it and keep them safe. I don't know. Anyway, they made a lot of mistakes. Although I'm partial to Bill de Blasio. I don't follow him enough, but he fervently backed Bernie Sanders. Said he's the only one fighting for the working class, and you should definitely vote for him. And I endorse him. And him and Marianne Williamson, if I remember correctly, are the only ones that did that. The rest all just fell in line for their more power or more opportunity in politics, and endorsed somebody who has dementia and is likely a rapist and is obviously a terrible person, a liar, in Joe Biden. So anyway, let's get into Andrew Cuomo. Let's read this article. Okay. Also, please, seriously, make my 36, God, I'm getting old. Make my birthday awesome and go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics. Become a patron today. Starts at just $1. If you don't like it before the first of the month, you can actually cancel and not even get charged. You get early access, early content. As soon as I get a patron, I promise you will get loads of content. I was putting out, they have like 24-hour videos on Patreon that only Patreon members, patrons, people that pledge $1 or $2.70 or what's my next one? I think 7, 10, and then 27, which is a revolutionary. You should see the perks I'm giving away with them. You should see it's a ton. It really is. So, I am going to go over this article. And if you haven't already subscribed to Punk Rock Politics, please subscribe to Punk Rock Politics. Below, double click the subscribe button to get the little parentheses around the bell so you get alerts for all my videos. And please share my videos that you like with everybody. You know, if you think that what I'm doing is important or that I give good information or do good analysis or any of that, you know, share news that people are missing, then please distribute it. I'd really appreciate it. So I'm thinking about releasing a video I did yesterday where I actually read this article and did some analysis and started reading another awesome long article critiquing Andrew Cuomo. But I'm having a problem with Samsung and my videos. This app is cutting off my videos. Excuse me. After a certain amount of time and forcing me to either make them shorter or release multiple videos, and it's a lot more work, and people aren't going to watch. Some people do, but most people aren't going to watch 3-part videos. Like, they're not going to watch them. They need to be one video. My hair is a mess. Anyway, whatever. I showered and everything. I don't know, it just looks terrible. But yeah, so, yeah, we're going to read through this, and I think I'm going to release that because I did it yesterday on Earth Day for my birthday, and it's a long video, and I put a lot of time into it, and then I'm just going to redo, essentially, what I did. So, yeah, YouTube person problems. Okay. This is from the New York Times. What the Cuomo 2020 fantasy says about 2020 reality. Daily briefings during the crisis in New York given Governor Cuomo... Sorry. Jesus. All right. What the Cuomo 2020 fantasy says about 2020 reality. Daily briefings during the crisis in New York have given Governor Andrew Cuomo a captive audience and a growing fan base, but he has made it clear that he's not going anywhere. And my dog has made it clear that he is going nuts, so excuse me a second. In case you don't know, that mug is Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York State. All right, this article is by Matt Flegenheimer, and it's from March 30th, 2020. His is a new coalition, couch-bound and spooked, finding small comforts where few had sought sustenance before, in the tender embrace of a disaster briefing by Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Fans share text messages about the accent, the Queen's English brusque but empathetic, and the cable news group therapy of his slideshow presentations. Their pick-me-ups, excuse me, their pick-me-ups rendered with the force of executive orders. Find ways to create some joy, one caption instructed on Sunday. They daydream about Mr. Cuomo's job prospects. Might he join a Biden administration? Might there be a Cuomo administration somehow? And indulge in mischievous embroidery. I'm always trying to keep up with what's happening in the zeitgeist, said Rachel Hruska McPherson, the founder of a cashmere sweater company, Lingua Franca, which now counts a $285 Cuomo for President piece among its hottest sellers, with dozens of buyers already from as far as Texas, Montana, and New South Wales, Australia. On Monday, Mr. Cuomo reiterated that he would be disappointing them. I'm not running for president, he told reporters at his latest coronavirus update. But with the man who is running and leading the Democratic contest, Joseph R. Biden Jr., functionally confined to campaigning from his Delaware home, Mr. Cuomo has become the politician of the moment, held up as the man in command with his state under siege. More respected than revered over much of his 9-year tenure as governor, never seeing a clean path to a White House promotion he has long been said to covet, Mr. Cuomo now finds himself with a national audience. Even as local supporters and critics agree, he is much the same as he always was. If you're feeling disoriented, it's not you, Mr. Cuomo said over the weekend. Speaking generally, it's everyone. And it is yielding surreal political consequences. I keep hearing Cuomo for president, said Jay Jacobs, the chairman of the New York State Democratic Party and a superdelegate to the National Convention. Whether it's political people that talk to me, or neighbors on the street, or friends I haven't heard from in a long time. My brother down in Marietta, Georgia, texting me, my sister-in-law. It's off the charts. Here it is important to distinguish wish casting from reality, as reinforced In conversations with Cuomo allies and party officials like Mr. Jacobs, Joe Biden is going to be our nominee, he said. Instead, the Cuomo flirtation, such as it is, seems most instructive for what it says about those drawn to it, reviving a persistent trope among Trump-era Democrats. The romanticizing of prospective party saviors, even at this point in the nominating calendar, a vice that has yielded all manner of campaign fantasies in recent history. Maybe Oprah Winfrey would be one. That super exploitative billionaire who calls on poor kids and their parents to be like, you couldn't afford to buy him a bike. You couldn't get him a bike. You couldn't buy this poor kid a bike. Things are so hard. Oh my God, you must feel terrible. You must feel like you can't support your child. She's an exploitative billionaire. She's not a good person. She ain't buying you no car. Car companies are. She ain't giving that kid a bike. The bike company is. For advertising. Oprah Winfrey is terrible, and so many people like her, and they're missing the point. This lady exploits people for a living, and makes billions upon billions of dollars on her magazine, her channel, her food, and all that other crap, and she would be an incompetent joke of a right-wing pretend Democrat president. Anyway, she was not interested in meeting, Oprah Winfrey or Beto O'Rourke. The guy who says he's a progressive but is like a neoliberal loser and who sold everybody out and endorsed Biden just so he can get some more power or maybe be in the administration or get help with a campaign run for another office. Like fucking Beto O'Rourke, give me a break. The electorate was not interested. He said the people that vote aren't interested in Beto O'Rourke. Or Michael R. Bloomberg. Only American Samoa was interested in talking about the primary. So he only won in American Samoa, which is like 2 delegates. He got like, I even think he won. I think he got like 2 out of the 3, and Tulsi Gabbard, I think, got the other one. They might have cheated her out of it. I don't know. Anyway, Mr. Cuomo effectively endorsed Mr. Biden, with whom he is close, before the former vice president entered the race, and Mr. Biden remains the heavy favorite for the Democratic nomination with a significant delegate lead over Senator Bernie Sanders. It wasn't that significant, but whatever. No one in a position of, and that was with cheating and stealing the election. No one in a position of relevant authority has said publicly that Mr. Cuomo, a non-candidate with a generational governing challenge on his hands, should be introduced to the mix or elevated in any far-fetched broker convention scenario. This did not stop President Trump on Monday from boosting Mr. Cuomo to taunt Mr. Biden, telling Fox News that the governor would be a better candidate than Sleepy Joe. Yeah, Donald Trump thinks Andrew Cuomo would be a better candidate than Sleepy Joe because Andrew Cuomo is Donald Trump with a D in front of his name. Seriously. And we're going to get into that in this video and the next video. Wait till you see this awesome current affairs article just ripping into how terrible Andrew Cuomo is in so many different ways that if you knew about it, if somehow you fell in love with him because you're scared or because we unfortunately support tyrants or bad people when we're scared, not me, but people get scared and they run to their leaders that should have never been elected in the first place. Anyway, there is reason to doubt that Mr. Cuomo will end up in Washington at all, even if Mr. Biden reaches the White House. Mr. Biden has pledged to pick a woman as his running mate, and Mr. Cuomo says he does not want the job. The possibility of him being drafted, regardless of electoral circumstances, changing drastically enough in the coming months to spur a reversal of that pledge and Mr. Cuomo's protestations, is remote. No one in the Biden camp has indicated that this is under consideration. Still, with Mr. Biden often straining to break through in recent weeks, Democrats absorbing the brash monologues and score-settling of Mr. Trump are plainly eager for any steady-handed fact-slinging from those on the front lines of the virus response. Pete Souza, the former White House photographer for Barack Obama, shared an old photograph on Instagram on Friday of Mr. Obama with Mr. Cuomo, a former president with the current acting president, Mr. Souza wrote. The image has been liked more than 240,000 times. Mr. Biden, left to conduct live streams and remote television interviews from home, is conscious of his current limitations. Thanks for giving me this time, he said at the end of an MSNBC appearance on Monday, so they don't wonder where I am. Oh, we're wondering where you were and are, Joe Biden, because you have not been leading on the coronavirus. They've been hiding you for quite some time. You were giving short speeches at your so-called victory laps in states that you never stepped foot in, and the polls for weeks and months said you were going to lose drastically to multiple candidates, but somehow, like in Massachusetts, you got 65,000 votes above what the exit polls say, and Bernie Sanders got 47,000 less, and Elizabeth Warren got 50,000 less in Massachusetts, and you supposedly crushed everybody. You won that state. In a state that you were polling at like 6 to 10% for a long time. Joe Biden had no campaign structure. Look up the exit polls. Look up the raw exit polls. They're available online. And I did a video about it a while back. Anyway, let's see. Mr. Biden left to conduct live streams and remote television. Oh, sorry. By the way, this is funny. I'm glad I reread that. So Biden's not constricted by anything. He's the presumptive Democratic nominee. He could get staff and he could make 1 million live streams a day like Bernie Sanders still does, like an hour and a half video or panel on what to do about the coronavirus or why we need Medicare for all. So don't give me this nonsense that one of the most powerful people on the planet can't make videos because he's stuck at home. So this is a part that I really don't like about this article. But anyway, he didn't critique it. He didn't point out the absurdity of it. So that's a problem. He has also been quick to praise Mr. Cuomo. Let's talk about Biden. I think he is doing a hell of a job, Mr. Biden said on MSNBC last week. I think he has been the lead horse here. If crises tend to amplify and accentuate the most essential tics and instincts of elected leaders, Mr. Cuomo's reputation for inveterate micromanagement and swaggering protectiveness appears to be serving him well in his televised ubiquity. In public sessions, Mr. Cuomo has long evoked a father who greets his daughter's prom date with a vice grip handshake and an overlong stare, then chaperones the dance anyway, just in case. Now he has a virus to eye warily. Those appraising Mr. Cuomo's handling of the pandemic tend to start... Those appraising Mr. Cuomo's handling of the pandemic tend to sort themselves into three camps. Admirers, new and old, disinclined to miss his daily appearances, longtime skeptics conceding grudging recognition for his triumphs of tone, and other opponents, particularly among progressive activists in New York City, warning that he is still not to be trusted. He isn't. Andrew Cuomo is not to be trusted. That is definitely true. All three groups allow that they did not expect to encounter a Cuomo boom cycle this year. A Siena College poll of New Yorkers released on Monday found Mr. Cuomo with a 71% favorability rating, his best showing in 7 years, and a 27-point spike from February. 87% of respondents approved of his performance in the crisis. Absurd! This guy has the state with the most cases. I know that they have a lot of travel. I know that they have dignitaries. You have the United Nations headquarters in New York. I know that people come and go, and New York's got a lot of business and a lot of big business and corporate business and a lot of international business and international government issues, and just it doesn't excuse their poor response to this, and now people are praising him because they don't understand that Andrew Cuomo could have put in place a lot of things that would have greatly reduced the spread of the disease, and he's trying to cut Medicaid while this is going on. Andrew Cuomo was a piece of garbage, and trust me, wait till you see the next video with this lengthy article that's just scathing that it's going to be hard to just get through in the time I have. Well, I would give as much commentary as I can, or I might just have to read the whole article and just post it. Check it out. Please check out my next video. Imagine if you told me a few years ago, tweeted Amy Spitalnik, a former aide to Mayor Bill de Blasio, who trustled often with the governor's operation while at City Hall, that I'd look forward to watching a Cuomo press conference every day. In an interview, Mr. Spitalnik suggested that if Mr. Cuomo had not exactly changed, the circumstances had. He's still the guy from Queens, she said, contrasting him with Mr. Trump, another native of the borough. He's been straightforward and direct about what New York needs. The other guy from Queens is not providing that. He's not straightforward about what he needs. He's using prison labor to make hand sanitizer. They're not even making hand sanitizer. A private company that taxpayers are paying for is selling hand sanitizer to, I guess, or maybe New York has this deal. Nobody knows anything about it, or at least as far as I know, maybe more has come to light. But this hand sanitizer being paid for by the taxpayers, and Prisoners are getting paid 64 cents to put on an NYS sticker and say it's like act like it's made in New York. It's not. It's just labeled by prison labor or slave labor in the prisons, and they get 64 cents an hour, and they just put on stickers and fill the bottles. So a company is profiting off of this, and why can't New York, New Jersey, and other states that have money and infrastructure put some like non-essential workers that volunteer, as long as you give them proper protective gear and hand sanitizer and keep things sanitary? Why can't we make masks? Why can't we make hand sanitizer? Not buy it, make it cheaper. Invest, but make it so it's cheap and distribute it to all of our citizens and even people within our borders. Everybody. It's unbelievable. So just because Trump did a horrible job and these deaths and the spread of this disease is definitely on his hands and his administration's hands, anybody that wasn't disagreeing with him, or Republicans or Democrats, anybody that was going along with anything Trump said about the coronavirus is directly responsible for the deaths and suffering of these people and the scared issues and all the problems that everybody's having in society. So don't forget it. Anyway, some past adversaries have been less charitable, urging new converts not to be persuaded. They said that while Mr. Cuomo's news conferences might be well calibrated, New York could have done more earlier in the month to protect its citizens, noting that officials in states like California and Ohio seem to act more decisively at times. While Mr. de Blasio has been faulted for mischaracterizing the threat in several past comments, Mr. Cuomo bristled at the mayor's initial reference to a possible shelter-in-place order for the city about 2 weeks ago. So this was March 30th. 2 weeks ago would have been 14 days earlier. So, the 16th, roughly, of March they're talking about. Okay, let's reread that just because I wanted to explain to you what's going on because it's an older article. Well, Mr. de Blasio had been faulted for mischaracterizing the threat in several past comments. Mr. Cuomo bristled at the mayor's initial reference to a possible shelter-in-place order for the city about 2 weeks ago, arguing that panic could be a bigger problem than the virus if people felt trapped at home. Mr. Cuomo did direct the closing of non-essential workplaces and tell residents to stay home as much as possible. Not good enough. Not even close to good enough. These people have money, power, and staff and scientists and all the information they could ever want. They're governors of states in the United States. Information from the federal government we'll never know about, and they're in the know. And they let this thing spread. And they did not act. They're culpable. You're trying to balance this. It's about Cuomo. He told reporters on Sunday when asked why the state had not moved more quickly, adding, "I think we were one of the first to shut it down." You think? I wonder why you don't know. Because you weren't. Sorry. Since then, activists have faulted Mr. Cuomo for not doing more to accommodate vulnerable prison populations, pushing for a wider-scale inmate release beyond a decision to remove certain parole violators from the jails. Several Democrats have also accused Mr. Cuomo of not ordering sufficient assistance to tenants, calling for the outright cancellation of rent in the near term. Mr. Cuomo has announced an order waiving mortgage payments for 3 months for affected homeowners while issuing a 90-day moratorium on evictions. With the state budget in flux, some progressives have shown particular frustration with Mr. Cuomo's aversion to higher taxes on the rich, which the governor has said would do more harm than good to the fragile economy. Even before the virus hit, Mr. Cuomo revealed plans to seek billions in savings from Medicaid spending. "A lot of people are seeing Cuomo for the first time," said Jonathan Weston, the director of New York Communities for Change, an advocacy group. "In the longer term, I think people will see through Cuomo's veiled attempt to position himself as an everyman." The debate has played out in forums unaccustomed to disputes over financial forecasting in Albany. Comments on an Instagram post promoting the Cuomo-branded cashmere sweater appear to pit come-lately cheerleaders against others who claim more familiarity with his history. Corporate Democrat, one account labeled him, responding to the Cuomo for President message. "You better mean Rivers," wrote another. That would be Rivers Cuomo of the band Weezer. But on his own Twitter profile, the singer, more puckish than politically inclined on social media, has taken to identifying himself by another name now, Gov Cuomo. I really wish I could make longer videos so I could read the next article, but that's going to be it for this video pretty much. I'm going to just say that, you know what, I gave a little bit of my critique in there, And not every video has to be too long. I just don't like to repurpose people's material without feeling like I've added a significant amount of content to it. You know what I mean? So I'm using somebody's article and their work, and I just like to give you a ton, but I'm having an issue with Samsung, so I'm going to make the next video. It's kind of a continuation of this one. I think I am going to call them part 1 and part 2, but this one's not like the full 49 minutes that it separates and makes a new video. So it's not going to be that long. So I think it totally makes sense. And I hope you check out both videos. Please share any of the videos, my past videos, check them all out. Share them with everybody, all over social media, with friends, family, show people, start a conversation. Let's be more aware of what's going on in politics and who these people are that control our lives and demand better people. And maybe a new system and a new constitution and a whole bunch of stuff. Let's fight for climate action. Let's fight for Medicare for all. Let's fight for workers to get way better wages. Let's fight for pensions for all Americans. Let's fight for the things we actually need. Don't hear that's pie in the sky. Well, you can give a what is it, 1.5 or 1.8 trillion dollars in tax cuts to the wealthy, on top of all the tax cuts they already had and the low tax rate they were paying, and lower that. But you can't give struggling people food. It's absurd, and there's no excuse. Capitalism is crushing the world. It's destroying the planet, literally, and it's time to get off of it. It is the reason why they ship jobs overseas. It is the reason why workers make poorer and poorer wages here and abroad. It is the reason why we don't have actual democracy, because capitalism is inherently undemocratic. Think about it. How could you have a so-called democracy if you don't have say in the workplace? So you have to work to make a living, and try to get an education or training, or just try to get a decent enough job, or multiple jobs, unfortunately, in this terrible economy that's been going on for quite some time, just to be poor and eat shitty food and be stressed and have no time for your friends or family or for anything you enjoy doing. And that's not productive for society. It's destroying the goddamn planet. And if you don't have a say in your workplace, so it's not democratic. So the thing that controls your whole life, whether you eat, have a home, have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, a significant other, if you're happy, if you get to invest in, let's say you like music, or you want to go to school, which should be free, another thing we need to fight for, don't let this pandemic stop you. Let it make you be more politically active, is what I'm saying. Let's fight the power. Let's fight for sensible, logical policy that other countries do that save tons of money, like Medicare for all, which the more recent Yale study, one of 22 studies, that said it would save a ton of money and save a ton of lives. The most recent figures, using a Bernie Sanders type Medicare for all plan, would be that we'd save $450 billion and 68,000 lives a year. How do you like that? Can't afford it? What, you mean corporations? You can't afford it as a politician because you're getting money from insurance and drug companies and the like, and fossil fuel companies, so you can't save the planet, so you can't give us Medicare for all. It's absurd. Anyway, get more active. Do your own research. Look for independent media. For issues, if it doesn't make sense, read between the lines when you read major publications. Use your, when you read something, don't just believe it. Think about if it seems legitimate, or if it was well sourced, or if you believe the people saying it, or if you should believe the people saying it, or if they did a good job of really explaining all the details and giving their sources, or if they're just telling you what they want you to think. So they profit, or, whether it's CNN or MSNBC or a politician, they don't want you, their donors control them. So anyway, which is why, it's a shame Bernie Sanders dropped out, because he was only being funded by the people. And I think he let down a lot of people in a lot of ways, and he should have never dropped out of this campaign, especially with everything that's going on. And he could have won it, and he still can technically win it, but there's some dirty things the DNC is doing. And he should have never endorsed Biden so quickly. He should have waited till the end of the primary season. It's just absurd, even if he dropped out, which is still wrong and stupid and makes no even objective sense from a political science standpoint or a political campaign standpoint. It makes no sense that he dropped out, other than he folded to pressure. And supposedly, I heard or read something, he's afraid of being seen as Ralph Nader. You should be so lucky, Bernie Sanders. Ralph Nader is a hero. Who cares if the mainstream media and elites blamed him for a stolen election in Florida that the Supreme Court got involved and stopped a recount of, which is authoritarian nonsense. Because in Florida, George W. Bush's brother was the governor of that state, and they've proven that both 2000 and 2004 presidential elections were stolen, and that Bush didn't win either elections. Like actual proof, data, like the voting machines, the original tallies, they were switched all over small counties in Florida in 2004. Great documentary on it. Forget the name of it. They fought to get these documents because they changed them on the computer after. We need paper ballots. We need evidence of every single vote that is counted. Anyway, thanks for joining me, John Smith, Punk Rock Politics, and check out the next video, which is a blistering piece by Current Affairs that just tells you how much of a piece of human garbage Andrew Cuomo is. And don't get upset with me if you're comfortable or you're watching this. Look, people are scared. They're looking for a more measured response than Trump, but that's a low bar. So don't give somebody credit just because Trump is scaring you and saying all kinds of inconsistent and crazy things. That doesn't give you the right to support somebody who's a bad person and is just Trump with a D in his name, but just more sane and like competent and calm and less like messing with people. It doesn't mean Andrew Cuomo's a good person or that he would be good for you as president. It's an absurd proposition. Bernie Sanders can still win. He's still on the ballot in most states. I heard New York is trying to get rid of him. Oh, look at what Cuomo is doing. Trying to make sure that people in New York can't vote for Bernie Sanders, probably because it's a threat. Show that he still has so much support. So don't believe the nonsense. Think for yourselves. Use critical analysis. Use your brain and see if what you're hearing makes sense. Look into somebody's record, and don't just read articles that praise him. Type different things like Andrew Cuomo is corrupt. Andrew Cuomo is not a friend to progressives. Andrew Cuomo is not a progressive. Andrew Cuomo helped the IDC, which was a bunch of Democrats who worked with Republicans and passed Republican bills and laws in the state Senate in New York, and Andrew Cuomo fought behind the scenes to keep them in power because he's a Republican, a right-wing Republican. Andrew Cuomo's a joke. He only takes progressive causes and says that it's him that signed them and he's so great, just like Trump, after he fought hard to get rid of them. He pressures people politically to drop bills they've been fighting for like a decade. It's just absurd. Andrew Cuomo is a piece of human garbage for so many goddamn reasons. It's just unbelievable. So next video is going to get into that with an abundance of evidence. So check it out. Please subscribe again to Punk Rock Politics, like I said before, and please go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics. Become a member today. Give me a birthday present. Happy Earth Day, everybody, or belated Earth Day. For fun, I'm gonna release a video probably late night or later tonight, or in the afternoon. That's just like a video I did yesterday. That's like totally different analysis of this thing, and I was having some fun, and there's some cool stuff in there you might really enjoy for Earth Day. It's a little, check it out. Just check it out. Definitely check out the beginning of the video and then see what you think. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks for joining Punk Rock Politics. Subscribe to my channel, and share, like, comment, become a patron. Even if you don't agree with me on something, please, let's have a conversation. When you do agree with me, tell me. When you don't agree with me, tell me. But let's have an educated conversation. I don't mean formally educated. I just mean, get your facts straight. That's all. Do some research, or be thoughtful if it's philosophical or, I'm totally open to having conversations and debates, but don't say something crazy and turn people off or upset people and then not be able to back it up. So when you're capitalism is amazing, and then I list all the reasons why it's not, historically and economically, and statistically and data driven and just obviously, and you don't have anything to say, then don't make those comments if you can't back them up. And don't be a bot, essentially. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for all the support over this small period of time that I started this channel. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the long lull and not making videos. That is not going to happen again, barring any severe circumstances. So thanks. Stay safe out there. I'm going to do a bunch of videos today.